extra episode that we didn't expect to do. We're going to be talking about Joe Thornton, and we're going to be talking about a little bit of Claude Lemieux. This is In the Crease with Tommy C. Extra. Come bring it now. Joe Thornton tells GM Doug Wilson to stick it straight up his ass. All that and more on In the Crease with Tommy C. What's going on, everybody? In the Crease with Tommy C. That's right, and in my crease is none other than the fabulous, the wonderful Chicago Dead On Dave. We're doing an extra today because we felt we had to. We didn't put the Friday episode out, the extra Friday episode, and I'm glad we did because I got drunk and I didn't want to do it.
And my internet died.
And your internet died, so that's it. But the stuff that happened yesterday is so unusual. It's the stuff of legend, stuff you're going to be talking about probably years from now. It's the day that an NHL hockey player literally mouthed off in the media. And I don't know, if you're just like some kind of average hockey fan and you just like watching the scores and you don't follow sort of the political stuff and the crazy stuff that goes behind it, maybe this isn't for you. But it's for me because I love a good story. What do you think of this Dead On Dave? It's kind of blown in my mind a little bit.
I love it. I love it. Look,
just good.
I don't have a problem when a GM runs his mouth. I don't have a problem with it most of the time. But you have to know what you're talking about. And to say that a guy like Joe Thornton, who's been in this league for 16 years, respected by everybody, lost his seat because he buckled under the stresses of being a captain. He deserved everything he got when a player of the caliber of Joe Thornton, with the career that he's had, tells him to go stick it up his ass.
Stick it straight up your ass.
Mouth.
Stick it
I
up
love
your
it.
ass. You know, we started this particular show really on the dropping of the C for Joe Thornton. We said it was a really bad idea. And one of the things that Thornton says, he called Doug Wilson a liar, and he is a liar. The reason he was stripped was to send him somewhere else. Both Patrick Marleau and both Jumbo Joe, they were trying to go with the youth movement, so they tried to humiliate Jumbo Joe, humiliate him to get him to leave. But here's the thing that Doug Wilson didn't count on because he's not a very good judge of character. Joe is an older player. He's around my age. I think he's a year or two younger than me. He's got
35.
family. He's settled in. So he's 3 years younger than me. He's settled in over there. And when you get to that age and you have a couple kids, moving around is not that fun anymore. You think family first. So he was like, screw it, fuck it. And they didn't. I'll give credit to Joe and Marleau and a lot of those guys. Even Dan Boyle, who's now on the New York Rangers. They didn't let that Kings dropping 4 games in a row bother them. They have fought the whole season, and it's a new team and a youth movement. And let's face it, Jumbo Joe is still the moral leader of that hockey team.
Absolutely.
That hockey team. And Doug Wilson is a jerk, and I'm gonna read the exact quote. He cares about the game so much. The reason he took the C off him is Joe carries the weight of the team on his shoulders. He's got such a big heart, and when stress comes, he lashes out at people, Wilson said, and it kind of impacts them. The pressure and stress I felt was getting to Joe, the general manager said, and I sat him down and said, we need other players to step up and share this. He got it. He didn't like it. But he got and he understood it. That's just a friggin' lie. That's a lie. They wanted bullshit. A youth movement. When I was in New York in September, they interviewed Dan Boyle, on the Jumbotron before the game. And the first words out of his mouth is the Sharks were going with the youth movement. The one thing I can't do is getting younger, but I still have a lot to offer the team. They chased Boyle out. And maybe they needed to rebuild. I don't even really have a problem with the rebuilding part.
Sure.
But Joe didn't want to go. They have no trade clauses, and they didn't count on that. So now I think there's a little pressure on Doug Wilson to kind of explain his move because it failed. It didn't work.
Now, how does Thornton respond to all of this? He has a 57-point season right now.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
And not only that, like, I don't know why humiliating your captain is going to create a united locker room. They like him. They respect him. He's one of the more respected players in the league.
They wanted him out, just like you're saying.
They just wanted him out, and that's why he called him a liar. It's probably smart for Joe not to go, Joe to go into it, but I could sure read between the lines. And he's an old-time hockey guy. This guy Wilson is a punk, and I think I know what Marlowe and Joe Thornton are doing. They're trying to outlast him because guess what? Joe can't go anywhere. If they don't make the playoffs this season, and I wouldn't suggest that Joe Thornton, a man like him, would ever tank, guess what? General manager, you're more than likely gone.
You know, when pressed, I don't know if you saw this, but Wilson, when pressed by CSN California, he said he was told about these comments that Thornton made. If he's got an issue, he knows exactly where I am, and I'll be glad to talk to him about it. There's zero issue here. I was asked the question at a season ticket holder function, and my response was to do my job and be accountable for our season ticket holders and tell the truth. It's nothing I haven't said before. So he's doubling down.
No, more lies. No, he's doubling because he looks like a damn fool and there's nowhere else to go. So what you do is you
got to double down.
You got to hang on. And it's more it's more lies. We've done stuff like this before. This has never happened before. That's why it's so great for hockey jerks like me and you. This is nothing like this has ever happened before. I've never heard anything in public. And to sit there and say, well, he knows where my office is. Guess what, jerk off? You started it.
Look,
you started this whole thing.
Check this out. I'm going to come at this from a different angle. If he wanted to take the captaincy off of Joe Thornton because they blew a 3-0 series lead last year in the first round of the playoffs, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If he wants to change captaincy because it's one of the biggest gag jobs in recent memory, I don't have a problem with that. But be honest. Don't talk about fucking stresses and pressure when you're talking about Joe fucking Thornton, someone that everybody knows is a stand-up fucking guy who's probably going to the Hall of Fame.
Even more now, he's more of a stand-up guy, and I guarantee that. I mean, look, one of the things we talked about very early on in this show's birth is sort of a possible management versus players thing that might sort of happen that might actually motivate the San Jose Sharks. That there was like sort of a Herb Brooks type thing where the players hated Herbie and Herbie pretended he hated the players, and it created. And I thought that's what's really going to happen. But it's not good if it's not a work. It's not good if people really actually feel that way about management. I want to make sure because I didn't read. We said that Thornton said to told his general manager to shut up, but I do want to read the whole quote. I think Doug just needs to shut his mouth. I think that's the bottom line. Here's more quotes. All I've got to say is we've been here every day working hard. I've taken a sabbatical. He needs to stop lying. Shut his mouth. That was Zach's response. This is news to you. Yeah, shut your mouth. We're in a playoff race, stupid. Whereas, one of the things with going with the youth movement means you probably don't make the playoffs. Like the Buffalo Sabres. That's when you start over from scratch. It means you throw a season away, essentially, to bring in young guys. And guys need. Look at Cam Talbot, University of Alabama. Hockey
right
players
now,
come
this
from
is
there.
not what this team needs, Tommy.
No, this is
the
worst thing. I would blame.
Right,
and you know what? Here's the best part, Dave. The media is sticking up for the players for a change.
Yes,
they think this guy's way out of line.
You know why? Because people like guys like Joe Thornton.
Exactly.
Okay? And it's no secret that here on Shot from the Point, here on In the Crease, we really like guys like Joe Thornton.
We're player guys.
Because they're a dying fucking breed. But right now, San Jose is on the outside looking into the playoffs. If the playoffs started today, they're not getting in. They're out.
No.
So they do not need this controversy. So telling the GM to shut his mouth is exactly 100% the right move. And I am giving full applause to Joe Thornton.
Shut up and make phone calls, jerk. Make sure the ice is good. Get the fuck out of here. You don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Oh, God, Joe Thornton. God bless Joe Thornton.
God bless Joe Thornton.
Oh, yeah. It's just, look, I know Joe's not perfect, but right now we're just probably really putting him over because
we are putting him so over right now.
Look, I'm sure there's things I could have criticized, Joe. I when he got a fight with John Tortorella when he said something nasty about the Rangers, and they got it. But I don't know. I love it. I don't care. I forgive him from the bad things he said about the Rangers.
Fuck all the stuff in the past. Right now,
he's great.
Right.
Right
now
he's
he's 100% right, and we have the right to fucking change our mind and call him a scumbag next week if we so see.
The problem is if they win, he stays. That probably the general manager. If he loses, they get him out and they can start over next year. But it's fun. Let's talk about something else that we touched on. There's so much good. I woke up today and there was just a plethora of really cool hockey stories out there. Mario Lemieux.
Would you say copious amounts of hockey stories?
Did I say copious?
Would you say? I think
I would say copious amounts of hockey stories that really led into the show that would actually make this show better than the one we might have done yesterday. You're right here on the Extra in the Crease with Tommy C. Claude Lemieux recently in an interview with TSN, a fascinating interview with TSN. I would have aired it. I would have put it on, but now I'm so terrified to touch anything Rogers has. All I can do is recommend. I may cut a video later. Maybe like an extra thing where I'm going to stop the video and have you go watch it. It'll come out and I'll give you my commentary on it. I would love to hear your comments on that. In fact, I always love to hear your comments no matter what. But here's the thing, Dead on Dave. He came out, and I'm just going to sort of paraphrase, and said, yes, I was a diver. And he talked about the interesting and maybe even the artistry, as you called it offline,
artistry,
of diving.
He does, yeah.
And, of course, this is something that makes guys like us fucking crazy. I hate diving. We love the fact that they're calling guys out. But the way Claude looked at it was quite interesting. And I get it, and I respect it to a point.
Sure.
Basically, he always saw it, and he was never ashamed of it because essentially it's a game, right? And fooling the referees is a part of that game. He said that Gretzky dived, which is true. He said that he was an artist at it. He would actually sometimes fool his own teammates.
Yes, he would,
and what have you. But he was a known diver, and probably the most famous diving incident in NHL history. I think it was sometime in the '89 playoffs where Pat Burns refused to send the medical team out there because everybody knew it was a dive. Yeah. And he did say, he went on and said that hurt his feelings. He also went on to say, you really got to see that it was just like, you feel stupid if you don't get it, but you feel great if you do.
You know what the best part of the interview was for me?
Great. Well, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go right ahead. No.
The best part of the interview for me was him talking about both sides of it. When he talked about the dive he did not get, when he actually injured his shoulder on a dive.
Yeah.
He talked, lamenting it, feeling so stupid.
Yeah.
But, and then he was basically asked if he would do it again. He said, yes. He was basically saying, yes, look, it was a tool that he used that obviously it cannot be used in the game now, but was used widely in the game then.
Well, I wouldn't say that. That's not what he said.
I think that's kind of where he was going. A lot of players were doing it and using it, and now it's coming out. And for a top-tier player like Claude Lemieux to say it and talk about it, I think it's a big step to get past that black mark in history of diving.
Yeah, sure. Well, I wouldn't say, look, one of the things he said, if you remember, no matter what they do, they're going to find a way around it, which I agree with. Here's the thing about with me and diving, because my fear is, and I did get the impression from the interviewer a little bit, that he was trying to almost justify and say it was okay. All right, I get diving to get an edge, but here's what I want from the NHL, and they've done a pretty good job, and I think this has been effective. And Claude Lemieux also brought up that he thinks there's probably even less diving now because of the camera angles, because they can catch everything, and on top of this rule change. At no time did Claude Lemieux say that he didn't like or thought it was wrong to find and throw players in the bus, because he sees it like I'm breaking the rules for an edge or bending the rules for an edge.
Yes.
And that's fine. But that's what I want. I want to make it as difficult as possible. You can do it, and yay on you, but I don't want a situation like they have in FIFA, like they have in the Premier League, not so much, but all other European soccer leagues, where if you fall down, the referee might even know you dive. They're just going to do it because everybody else is doing it. Why not you? I hate that. I don't want that.
And we're moving away from it. It is being eliminated from the game.
The best sign.
It is.
The only thing I didn't like about it was the interview was like diving's no big deal. No, it is a big deal. It is a big deal. It has to be contained. Guys like Lemieux, you have to go because you're breaking the rules. But I get it. Hockey has always been a game where you bend the rules to get an advantage within sort of a code. I get that. And so I don't really mind the diving in that aspect. What I don't want is a culture change. And that culture change leading to it's just an acceptable part of the game. I want it to be dive at your own risk. That's what I want.
Well, let's look at it. It was the interviewer trying to justify it, and it was Lemieux shutting that down. The interview was nothing. The interviewer was nothing. He's nothing. He doesn't matter. Fuck him. He's a nerd who doesn't play the game, doesn't understand the game, does not matter.
Yeah.
Lemieux set him straight and said, no, he was not at one point, not any point during the interview did Lemieux say, you know what, it's justifiable. No, Lemieux was saying he knows he would get fined and he should get fined if he played in today's game. And that's good. Lemieux talked about both sides, the good points and especially the dark points, and how stupid he would feel about diving. And I think it put it perfectly in perspective.
Absolutely.
It was perfectly in perspective.
It was really fascinating. Couldn't recommend. I always thought this is not the first time I've seen Claude Lemieux
he needs to talk more.
Yeah, I think he does. He has a very famous interview when he won the Stanley Cup in 1995 on the Howard Stern Show. Very open and honest. A funny thing happened there with the Stanley Cup. You ought to check that out. He also had an interview that I saw on TSN a couple of years ago with some of the Detroit Red Wings players that were involved in the blood game, and he was just very open and honest. He's always been honest. He said that he said things like that he thought he was a good fighter, but Lemieux got his ass kicked a lot, but he says he cuts easy. And I went back and kind of looked at some of his stuff. Yeah, he's right. He did kind of cut easy. He did bruise, so he stopped fighting because he bled all over. He bled like a stuffed pig. Some people have that. Some people just bleed all the time.
He's a very introspective type guy.
He really is, and it just kind of shows his Now, I'm not going back. I'm not saying, look, Lemieux was a rat, but hockey needs bad guys.
Absolutely.
Like Brad Marchand. Hockey needs bad guys, as long as they're not heels in real life. But we need heels. We need heels.
Every sport needs villains, no question.
Even Sidney Crosby, and I know that the league doesn't want him being seen this way. The media does everything to protect him. He's a wrestling heel. He's the really good, really talented guy that is the elitist and looks down on everybody else. That's sort of the movie role that he plays, whether he likes it or not. I think in some parts of him, he does like it. Especially that
sports is a story too.
It is a story.
Sports is telling a story.
So
they are telling a story, and they need villains.
Yeah, and we have sort of a villain in Crosby, and if you want to look at that, we have Ovechkin, who's sometimes a heel and sometimes a face.
But he's always funny.
Yeah, he's always funny. Yeah. You can have the whining, crying, diving Ovechkin that's sort of a arrogant, thinks weight has a huge ego, and then you also could have the kid who loves to play hockey and really gets out there and tries hard. You could have both of those guys, and that's where he was in earlier in his career. Now, I mean, he's hot. He seems to have turned face again, after a heel turn early. I mean, you could look at it in these sort of wrestling perspectives, and I do think it's good for the game, and I think Claude Lemieux, in a weird way, was good for the game. Now, the injury stuff, he was a very dirty player. I don't want to underscore that. I'm not totally going to put Lemieux over. What he did to Chris Draper was unforgivable in a lot of ways.
Disgusting.
It was disgusting. Yeah, but again, and because Draper didn't die, that became one of the greatest rivalries, not just in hockey but in sports. The Detroit Red Wings Avs rivalry really lasted well into the 2000s.
Certainly furthered the fucking narrative, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, so it does. The thing is, I don't want to sit there and make a statement like we need terrible injuries to make storylines to make the games more interesting.
No.
I don't want to say that. It's sort of like what Zach Ronaldo was saying earlier when he was accused by Greg Wyshynski of laughing and making a joke, which we totally disproved and discredited and debunked. But there is an aspect of that when you go out and do something crazy, it does change the momentum of a hockey game. And it's what makes that game so great. So that's where I'm going to leave the Claude Lemieux interview. I just found this website. I want you to check it out, everybody. Let's see if I can get it on here. Of course not. God. Whatever. But
is your internet dying too?
I don't know. It's just the goddamn. It's actually XSplit that changed something. That I don't like. I wish just whatever. I'm not going to get into it. But there's something called the Players Tribune. I don't know anything about the Players Tribune, but I'm assuming this is where they write hockey articles. I'm going to have to look into it. Scott Gomez actually just wrote an article called Not Done. Now, we know Scott Gomez has got famous on the New Jersey Devils. He was a powerful player, one of the best players on Team USA. He was the face of American hockey, Alaskan-born Scott Gomez. The New York Rangers got him, and he was shortly traded to the Montreal Canadiens, and his career fell apart. Earlier this year, he was given a tryout shot from the New Jersey Devils, basically where he came and built his career. I mean, this guy's an elite hockey player. He's not that way anymore. And actually managed to make the team, and he's more than likely going to be playing next year, hopefully for Scott Gomez. But here's what he wrote that I thought was, you want to talk about introspective. I hope I said that correctly. This is where he opens the article. Earlier in my career, I'd hear about guys with long scoreless droughts and think, how's that even possible? It made no sense to me. But there I was, sitting on the bench for the Montreal Canadiens, watching our home fans stand, dancing around in sombreros, singing happy birthday in honor of my 1-year goal drought. By that point, I was fully aware of my poor play. My lack of scoring was a subject of TV reports, newspaper columns, and yes, its own website. But it was at that moment, serving as the butt of the joke, of a bad joke for 20,000 fans at the Bell Center, that hit me the hardest. Holy shit, I'm that guy now. Wow. I can't wait to read the rest of this. I know I'm like totally putting the Players Tribune over, but that's the type of stuff that I want to hear and I want to read. Highly recommend. If anybody knows anything about this website, put it in the comments below. I'm not getting a sponsor. I'm not getting money from this, but if you're gonna get players write that well,
this needs to happen more often.
Oh my God, it's what, because I don't give a shit what half these guys say, like especially like the Ryan Lamperts and these bloggers. I mean, look, they're sort of like us, Dave. We're not hockey experts or anything like that. We're just two fans that talk about hockey, but at least we're honest about it. Most of the guys that run these blogs, like in Deadspin, like in Puck Daddy, they're just dorks like us. They got a college degree for the most part.
We should start our own website and contact former players, and the website's called Tales from the Ice.
Oh, man.
And they can just publish little stories. Why do we got to wait for biographies and shit to come out to hear great stories from hockey? Let's get us. I think this is brilliant.
That was like Jilly was like a book, right? I mean, that's
brilliant.
I think that's
Players Tribune. I even like the name.
I bet Crosby
even like the name.
They say that Crosby's really well educated. Maybe he could start writing. I mean, look, not everybody's going to be a brilliant writer. No,
you don't need to write a novel. Just write a paragraph or two about a story, a good story. Keep it short, keep it sweet. And you know what? This, for one, it'll make money. It'll draw people to your site because, my God, who doesn't want to hear stories from hockey legends or hockey players in the game right now?
It looks like it's just players in general. It looks like, oh my God, the Chirp. This one looks like it's written by, you'll never believe this. The voice of the game, players, true. Okay, this article is about Dwayne Johnson, of course, better known as The Rock. I just want to.
The Rock. You talk about The Rock.
The Rock's there. Ben Lyons. I don't know what this site's about. You know, a fighter or maybe he's a football player named Julius Thomas. Oh, no,
Julius Thomas. Yeah, he's a football player.
Is he? Well, he's a contributing
tight end for the Denver Broncos. Well, was tight end for the Denver Broncos.
So I think this is a mix between reporters and players. But if you can get that kind of introspection, I'm fascinated by it. I am going to buy it. I'd pay for that shit.
Oh yeah, and then every now and then you try to get a big name. Like, what if every now and then someone like Wayne Gretzky told a story he's never told before and put it on that site?
But that's like, I know. Like something weird that happened, it'd be great. But most of these players not going to want to they're not going to write holy shit on that guy now because, we have to pretend that, all these players, they never go out, they never drink, they never bang hookers, they never, But
I think more players want this type of a voice than we'd think.
Yeah, I hope so.
If they could do it on their terms and write their type of stories and they don't have to really answer anything about it, I think more players would do it than you might think.
Let me tell you something. Whenever I find out Scott Gomez writes an article again, I'm going to search it out. I don't care. I'm reading it. Okay, let's flip to the Calgary Flames a little bit. Johnny Hockey.
Yes, holy
Flames
shit.
win another one. They double up the Leafs. That's no big deal in itself. But, you're starting to look, and of course, Giordano's not there. TJ Brody, what's his name? Schlemko, that guy with the really weird name. Monahan. What's Monahan? Irishman, not from New Jersey. Johnny Gaudreau. Geez, are they putting together the pieces of a dynasty? I mean, this team is very, very talented. I might suspect, look, I don't watch as many Calgary Flame games as I probably should. I suspect maybe it's the other pieces of the team, the role players that probably need to be improved. There needs to be some really good work, probably to fill in some of the maybe the talent gap or what have you, and it's going to take a really good general manager to do that. Bob Hartley is the coach of the team. He's done a fantastic job. I mean, I think he's Jack Adams worthy, a trophy. He seems like I saw him interview today. He was like, they're fun to watch, they're fun to coach, and they have fun out there, and they're creative and they're tough. Wow, what a story. To have a team in Calgary with that kind of strength is really exciting, and you think they're going to do a little more than just make the playoffs, right, Dave?
I'm going to call it right now. they're not going to catch the Blackhawks, but they are going to be the number 5 seed in the playoffs. That means they will be playing the Blackhawks, I believe. 4 plays 5, correct? 4 plays 5.
Yeah, I think so. I got to be honest. I never look at it.
Blackhawks Flames opening round. That is the one matchup I guarantee the Hawks don't want to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to play this team. Not the way they're playing now, certainly.
Don't want to play them. But I think they're going to get the 5 seed, and I think they're going to, if they don't beat the Hawks, which I'm not 100% convinced that they won't do.
Yeah, oh, really?
It will be a 7-game magnificent series, and it will be win or lose the arrival of the Calgary Flames.
What happens is they'll lose the 7 game. Maybe on an OT goal or something like that.
They get their heart broken.
And then they get their heart broken. But you're learning right now some good moves. Calgary, you have a bright future. And by the way, Calgary fans, I called it. I said you were making the playoffs. I knew, guys, the youth movement works. Nobody called it tanking back then, but because it wasn't. And then what the Buffalo Sabres is doing, it's not tanking, despite what everybody's, it's the Connor McDavid Jesus sweepstake. But it's great. They did the right moves. Calgary got a bright future. That little hick town over there, and I guess they're in Alberta, right? Yeah, that's one of the Alberta
Calgary,
teams.
Alberta, yeah.
I'm an American. I'm not really good with Canadian geography.
Take note now. Johnny Gaudreau is a fucking star in this league.
Face of the league within 5 years, maybe shorter.
Wow.
Maybe shorter. Face of the league. A guy from New Jersey. It's going to be fantastic. Let's end it right now, Dead on Dave, and do the scores for tonight. And we'll call that a day. I hope you liked today's extra in the Crease Tommy C. It was really exciting. You can see I have a lot of energy, but it was just, when it's good like this, it's good like this. And also, make sure you check out Sunday, the beginning of our broadcasting week, Shot from the Point Live. An hour and a half of hockey news of the week with some of the funniest guys you'll ever see. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Shot from the Point Live with me, Tommy C., comedian Jake Lake, and Jeff, the newsman, bluesman Huffman. And normally, we do the show Monday through Thursday, 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, live. You can call in. You can talk about just about anything. You can comment on the stories we open up with our monologue or our little chat, or you can come up and talk about the Philadelphia Flyers not making the playoffs. I don't care. Anything hockey, you're more than welcome to do it. Make sure you check out In the Crease with Tommy C. and my regular guest here, Chicago Dead on Dave. And sometimes we have other people from the Shot from the Point. Was it 5-man team, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, so from the Shot from the Point 5-man team. Let's go over last night's games in the National Hockey Leagues. Seds, hot. They take the Islanders 2-1 in the Nassau Mausoleum, one of the hardest places to win in the National Hockey League this year. The Dallas Stars, they take the Washington Capitals in a little bit of a surprise, 4-2. Edmonton Oilers losing the shootout to the Columbus Blue Jackets. And, of course, the Calgary Flames double up the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-3. Anaheim Ducks, they take the Minnesota North Stars. That's right, I said North Stars. 2-1. What do you think of that?
It should happen. It's exactly what should happen.
No, man, I'm like really hungry now because I'm doing this whole thing. Tonight, we got a ass ton of games in the National Hokey Dokey League. As always, I start with my team. 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The New York Rangers are in Buffalo to take the Sabres. I think I'm going to put money on the Rangers on that one.
The Rangers!
New York Rangers, let's go Rangers. Don't be looking like strangers. Oh, I used to hate that. I have a story about that, by the way. Also, we have
a story about everything.
I have a story about everything. Well, I'm Irish. What do you want?
That's why we love you.
I got a lot of Celtic blood. We're storyteller people. 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Detroit Red Wings are in Philadelphia to take on the Flyers. The Boston Bruins, they take on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Possible playoff matchup. Check that one out. That should be a good game. It's always good when the B's and the P's get together, and especially when Zdeno Chara, embarrasses Sidney Crosby. That's always fun to me. 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Chicago Blackhawks. That means you can watch it. It's only I think that'd be 9 o'clock our time, right? You probably can watch that game tonight.
Eastern Time, 9 o'clock.
They take on Jumbo Joe! And the San Jose Sharks. Should be exciting. Real interesting to see how the Sharks respond to such a big team like the Chicago Blackhawks.
They're going to come out flat, and the Hawks are going to put 5 on them tonight.
Oh, you think so? Or do you think they come out angry and maybe put it on the Hawks?
Brandon Saad, the guy who I've been touting for 2 years, he's going to score a natural hat trick tonight.
Call on that? Do you want to put money? We probably should go to bwin.com.
No, I'm not putting money on it.
Oh, okay.
I'm just being a loudmouth.
That's why we call him Dead on Dave. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Cats are in Carolina to take on the Canes. The Montreal Canadiens, they take on the New York Islanders. Islanders want to get it going because the Rangers have eclipsed them in the race in the Metropolitan Division. Sorry. Actually, you know what the strange thing is? I was born and raised to hate the New York Islanders, and I just don't because I love Johnny. I'm actually sort of happy that they're back in it and we're competing again. It's actually really exciting.
They're an exciting team.
They're a great team. They're a great team, and it's gonna be a bloodbath if the Rangers and the Islanders meet in the playoffs this year.
5 years from now, the team in the West that you're going to be talking about is going to be Calgary, and the team in the East we're going to be talking about is the New York Islanders.
You are absolutely 100% dead on, and that's why we call you Dead On Dave. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Winnipeg Jets, they take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Toronto Maple Leafs. You know what I'm going to do? I refuse to say the Toronto Maple Leafs the rest of the year.
Okay.
I'm just going to say 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time versus the Vancouver Canucks. 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Minnesota North Stars. That's right, I said North Stars. They take on the St. Louis Blues. They're going to need some wins. I'm never... Oh, God.
Don't die.
I'm never eating and doing that again. That was fucking dumb. I just had this big ship of food get stuck in my throat.
Yeah, don't freebase cookie dough.
No, you can't do that. Oh, God, that was awful. New Jersey Devils, they're in Arizona to take on the no-shows. 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, late night game. Nashville taking on the Kings. Kings not looking good.
No.
They may not make the playoffs.
Has there been a team more up and down this season than the Kings?
Nobody. Maybe Nashville, it'd be a good way to get back in it because they've been a semi-slide lately. I mean, they're still on top, but, they're not as far separated as they were earlier in the season. Last game, the Calgary Flames, they take on the Lanch. Hey, keep it up, Calgary. Keep it going. Don't let the fact that you're playing the Lanch, don't let the back play your Lanch. You got to keep this going, keep it moving the right direction. Don't give up, and once and for all, just get out of my damn brain.